Now, here on our show, we generally spend most of our time talking about trends, technology, and or equipment that impacts our everyday lives. What rarely gets talked about is the plight on our society known as human trafficking. Now, while most people associate such a hideous crime with places elsewhere in the world, you might be shocked to know that's a major problem right here in the United States of America. Every year, it's estimated that some 14,500 to 17,500 people are trafficked into our country. That does not count the people who are being trafficked within our borders, whether they're immigrants or other Americans. This is an issue that needs to be addressed. And fortunately, there are some on the front lines that are trying to make a difference. The first thing I want to do, because I think this subject is so important. So let me start with the stuff, and I'm going to do this a couple of times during this segment. If you know, or if you've seen somebody who's being trafficked or believe is, or maybe yourself are a victim of human trafficking and you need a way out, call the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline. That number, 1-888-373-7888. Or in Canada, the Canadian Human Trafficking Hotline, that number, 1-833-900-1010. And that's to report a tip or access victim services. And I'm going to do that again at the end of the piece. So, in case maybe you've been living under a rock, what exactly do we mean when we say, what is human trafficking? Well, let me school you. Human trafficking is a modern form of slavery. It's an extreme form of labor exploitation where women, men, and children are recruited or obtained and then forced to labor against their will through force, fraud, or coercion. Trafficking victims are often lured by false promises of decent jobs and better lives. The inequalities women face in status and opportunity worldwide make women particularly vulnerable to trafficking. And an aside, our State Department issues a worldwide report every year. They've been doing it for 20 years. The report they issued last year was 570 pages long. I want that to sink in. Now, while some trafficking victims are forced to work in the sex trade, you might wonder, or you might be surprised to know that many others are forced to perform other types of labor, such as domestic servitude, factory work, or agricultural work. Trafficking victims commonly experience physical and psychological abuse, including beatings, sexual abuse, food and sleep deprivation, threats to themselves and their family members, and isolation from the outside world. Trafficking victims, like I said, could be foreign nationals or they can be native U.S. citizens trafficked within U.S. borders. So, who's doing something about this right now? One company, a logistics trucking company, XPO Logistics, is partnering with Truckers Against Trafficking to fight against human trafficking. They're coughing up a $25,000 corporate sponsorship. Now, what they're doing is they've got a no-cost education program that they're helping fund that Truckers Against Trafficking is doing. That program has trained over 975,000 truck and bus drivers to spot the signs of trafficking. Thousands of drivers have called the hotline, resulting in the recovery of hundreds of victims. And they said that, an interesting thing, the pandemic did not make this problem go away. Didn't even slow it down. Now, jumping really quick here, public transit agencies are doing the same thing. And I got ahead of myself. Last month, January, was known as the Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month in the United States. And I wanted to say that. But public transportation agencies are doing training and awareness. For example, in California, they've recorded more than 1,500 reported cases of human trafficking in 2019. In Orange County alone, 400 victims in a 2-year period. One county, California. This is happening, people, in real. In Nevada is considered to be the 13th largest state where in terms of number of people trafficked, reported, which is crazy. A number of a number of the agencies are doing awareness training, safety training, not only to recognize it, but to help victims get to safety. And that's an important thing to note too. And they're doing this all over the place. I didn't realize just how serious this was. And I did not realize, usually when you hear about trafficking, you think of young girls and the sex trade, but that's only a part of it. It's actually much larger than that. And, as a mobility show, we covered all people and occasionally go off in the weeds. This is serious, very, very serious. And I want to give you those numbers again because it's just that important. If you suspect somebody is being trafficked, if you're a victim yourself and you want help, you need help. These numbers, the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline, again, 1-888-373-7888. In Canada, 1-833-900-1010, and that's to report a tip or access victim services.
Yep.
We don't do enough for the people who are vulnerable in this country, and mobility takes all kinds. And sometimes mobility is used for nefarious purposes.
Yep.
And the more that we know, the safer mobility can be for everybody.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're about.
And I applaud you for bringing this story to our attention. And anything we can do to increase awareness here. One of my favorite quotes is, just because something makes you uncomfortable doesn't make it any less true. And
again,
that's what we're here for.
Yep. One more time. 1-888-373-7888. That is for the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline. Please